Tensura What If? Silver Timeline by CBCTEBAS Chapter 24 Lei's Side Adventure. You two come with me, Lei said as she walked through the hallways. The two others followed her. Where we going? Enki said as he walked to the right side of Lei. Hey, show some respect Enki, shouted Siren, who you wouldn't think can raise her voice like that. Oh, shut it, replied Enki. We are going to the rock universe. Something seems to be happening, and all of them contacted us, said Lei as she ignored their bickering. Do we know anything that may alarm them like this? Asked Siren. Enki also listened in. At the moment no exact idea, I do have some speculation though, Lei answered. The trio then went to the gate and passed through. The chiefs of all the tribes of the world were waiting for them to arrive. Oh, Lei Dono, finally, you've all arrived. Where is Argent Dono? PT-78 asked. It seems Enki-sama and Siren-sama are also here, said W-74. Unfortunately Argent-sama had some business he needed to attend. I am tasked to come as a substitute, they came with me as my support. Lei explained and the other two nodded. Having Enki does reassure me, TI-22 said. The two have become close friends since Enki is the one in charge of the trade between them and the rock universe. Tell us the details. Lei went to the main topic at hand. The chiefs and vice-chiefs all nodded and started to explain. More than a day ago, a gate appeared near one of the beaches. Sea creatures started coming out of the gate and attacking anyone they see. The trio were surprised by this revelation. A gate appeared somewhere that is not the cardinal world. The inhabitants of this world tried fighting them, but their number difference was extremely large. For every golem that fought, more than 100 sea creatures come in return. Considering that each clan have more or less only a few hundred members on average, with the lowest having around 50 members only. And the three main clan consisting of 1,000 each, with less than 300 capable of fighting. Lead the way, said Lei to the chiefs. The golems all nodded and brought the trio to the beach. They're just in time, fighting was already occurring again. Large golems fighting of sea creatures that were less than a seventh of their size. The golem's average height is 13 meters tall. Some of the sea creatures have humanoid forms, upper body of a man and lower body of a fish. They use the water that is like a small water spout to travel on land, as well as to fight enemies. A mini water tornado by their waist to be able to travel on land. Luckily for the golems, they were very durable just as their size showed. Simple water attacks and spears and sword don't harm them as easily as they do to the sea creatures. The golems fight with either their fist or they have a large tree trunk to swing around. Any who gets hit by either of the attacks immediately gets flattened. Some golems that are far from the battle also throw large boulders like a catapult to the enemy forces. The ground already has hundreds of splattered remains of the enemy sea creatures with their blood and entrails littered everywhere. Of course, the enemy isn't the only one with casualties. There are also visible casualties on the golem's side. Because of their large stature and somewhat slow movement, they can be defeated with tripping them down and ganging up on their joints. Lei looked at the two with her, and nodded her head to the two. Enki smiled, while Siren just nodded her head in affirmation of the order. Looks like it's time to get to work, Enki said and jumped from where he was to the middle of the fight. With flames in his hand, he threw a flaming attack to the center of the battle. Tens of enemies shouted and burned in pain. Meanwhile those who were not burned quickly back away from the heat. The golems who saw this started shouting and their morale raised. They finally had reinforcement that they wholeheartedly believed would come. Even better, it was Enki, the new person in charge of this world. He was the substitute of Argent when it comes to trade with the golems. That is why he is well known by many if not all the golems. The golems, even more eager to fight than ever, continued to kill the enemies. Can't you at least stop being a show-off for 1 second? Siren said as she walked to the battlefield. She has ice spikes floating in the air above her head that can fly with one command. Seen behind her are a large number of skewered enemies with ice spikes coming out of their bodies. You're just jealous Argent-sama left me in charge of Rock Universe. Where's your universe? Oh wait, you don't have one, pointed Enki. Ha ha ha. Tisk, go. Siren was ticked with his remark. Not because he was right, definitely not, but because he wasn't paying attention and enemies were surrounding him. Wow, Hey, that almost hit me, complained Enki as several ice spikes came towards his direction to hit the ones behind him. Don't worry, I made sure you get high, I mean you won't get hit, Siren said with a smile. Her eyes weren't though. The two kept their verbal battle as they fought of the enemy forces. Meanwhile, Lei was near where the Golem rock throwers are. She was analyzing the enemies. It still surprises me how they can keep their manners and discipline in front of Argent-sama with their attitudes for each other, Lei muttered under her breath as she watches the two. After the enemies started to retreat to the other side of the gate and the battle was over, Lei went to the two, as the Golem around them celebrated. As stated by the chiefs, the enemy are all sea creatures. Siren, you're coming with me to the other side. Enki, you'll stay in here to defend this area. You're the best suited for this position with you flames, Lei ordered the two. Understood. The two nodded their head. They first had a small meeting with the chiefs about their intrusion to the other side of the gate and about how the gate will be guarded. After a few hours, Lei and Siren went to the other side. Well, I wouldn't say this wasn't within expectation, Lei said. It would be easy to assume that the enemy sea creatures will have a planet that is covered in water, Siren added to Lei's comment. The planet that they were currently in is a full-blown ocean. Not one piece of dry land within sight nor within as far as their magic perception can sense. They were underwater as they had their conversation. Siren was a former waterlord spirit and Lei is an angel. Both don't necessarily need to breath, and they can talk by thought communication as well. They then followed the sea creatures that they sensed were retreating. After following them for several minutes, they arrived at what looked like an underwater city. Amazing, Siren unconsciously muttered. They scouted the outside of the city. The intricacies, the beauty of it all. Then a whole school of the sea creatures started rushing to them. One of them started attacking Siren. Lei tried to help but was blocked by many other of its comrades. Why, wo no, nrf ouwnniet, said the one that lead the ones that blocked Lei. S ju il her too, said another. Looks like magic sense is finally kicking in. The water seems to have some form of magicules that was hindering my translation. Stop. Using her skills, she ordered the enemies. Majority followed what she said and stopped their advancement. The few who weren't were surprised by their comrades' actions. We didn't come to fight you guys. We want to resolve the fighting diplomatically with your side, Lei said. And why do we have to believe a word from someone who can manipulate my people? Shouted one of those that didn't fall for her skill. It's not like it's mind manipulation, it's just thought suggestion. It's their decision if they follow it, or if their wills are weak. Lei released the sea creatures from their thought suggestion. Like we said, stop attacking the other side of the gate or we will fight with our full strength. Lei gave her warning and with Siren in tow left. And just like before, the next day the sea creatures attacked again with their large numbers. They were killed though, some were left to live to pass on messages of warning again. And then it happened again, and again. Why can't we just kill them all? Asked Enki as the trio had their small private meeting. Haven't you been paying attention? Said Siren with disbelief. We can't do too many things that may affect the world. Trade with the golems is okay since nothing major will change. But if you eradicate an entire planet's civilization, that is a major problem, Siren explained. Then, that puts us in a bind. That's the problem, Lei-sama. I know this is rude and hypocritical as I just explained to him. But what about manipulating them to follow your orders? Siren asked. Lei sighed. I tried that once. The magicules of their waters seems to have a type of jamming ability for both skill and magic. What? Thought suggestion will disappear naturally within the week, month if I tried. Lei frowned. Of course, strong skills in magic can still be used to around 78% of their maximum capability. It's just not an efficient solution and a civilized one that can create a long-term relationship with them. The three continued on for days. They made multiple plans, and multiple actions, yet none succeeded. They tried eliminating the king, then the successor continued his legacy. When they manipulated the rulers, people found out and started a coup and eliminated them. Many plans like these were made and taken into action. One day Lei was analyzing the sea creatures that they found were called Adaro. Then she finally noticed something that may change everything for the better. She had the other two in another small private meeting. I've finally noticed something strange. The Adaro, they're being manipulated by something, Lei declared. Huh? I thought manipulation and suggestion will get us nowhere with the jamming thing. Inky asked, confused. Siren also nodded. That's the point, maybe the one who placed the jamming is the one manipulating them. It was hard to find since it wasn't your normal mind control. This one is embedded in their DNA and uses sonar to be given orders. In their DNA, Lei-sama? Asked Siren. Yes, think of it as natural instinct. You wouldn't question an animal for why it does what it does. A wolf going in packs, or a bird learning to fly. It's all done by instinct. Then how do we erase the mind control? Easy, just kill the ones giving orders and be the one who makes sonar of a certain frequency. Lei explained. But first we need to find out who is it. It took them months to find the well-hidden enemy. It was living inside an underwater volcano. Alright, are you ready, Siren? Asked Lei. Of course, Lei-sama. Everyone remember our goal? Said Siren as she looked to her other Siren brethren numbering around 100. They were brought in as added manpower to look for the enemy and war potential. Siren and her 100 subordinates started channeling their magicules. The flow of water started changing direction, creating a large ball of water that continues to spin around. They then fired their combined attack on the active volcano. Then Lei used her earth magic to make mini earthquakes that will cause a fault in the volcano as well. Roar. Asterisk, a large roar could be heard from below. The ground and sea shook, not from their attacks but from something else entirely. Soon a large arm raised from beneath the ground, and then the other one. The large monster soon came to view. With more than 400 meters in height it stood. Sipakli is its name. The enemy finally showed itself to them. The sirens started to shoot their attacks on the beast, yet nothing proved to be happening. It tried swinging its arms to swat them, but they all dispersed to get away from its reach. This, however, didn't save them from the current that pushed them farther than they would have liked. Its tentacle-like features on its back started to move around and rushed at them. Some of the sirens got impaled by these tentacles. Others quickly cut of the tentacles before anything happens to them. And that was the right call if they were all saved. Yet, 3 of the sirens were not saved in time and were devoured. The tentacles took them and placed them in the monster's mouth. The others looked in fear that they may actually die fighting this beast. Do not worry. You are all spiritual beings. That beast doesn't know how to harm our spirit nor our cores. Siren shouted. We'll revive in less than half a millennia and return to Argent-sama. Siren calmed her panicked subordinates. In fact, she was angry as well. For someone to actually kill one of her own, angers her to no end. But, she is their leader and can't show it. Siren, take charge and get ready to attack. I'll get its attention to me, Lei said, carrying her weapons. She realized Siren's anger and is using it to her advantage. Siren nodded and ordered her subordinates to follow suit. Using thought suggestion and her art called exposé that gets the attention of her enemies on herself. She readied her shield Aegis and her sword Enmity, both of which are mythical grade. The beast started to attack Lei with hundreds of tentacles. Lei just swimmed around and dodged their attacks while cutting several of them. With emotion manipulation, she heightens the beast's anger at her, making other enemies irrelevant but herself. Siren was surprised in how strong Lei was. Of course she knew that she was strong. But seeing to what extent is a different matter altogether. Alright, everyone on my signal will impale the bastard with a large ice spear, she said telepathically. Understood. They then waited for the right moment, accumulating their magicules and waiting. Not yet. Not yet. Now, the water started to freeze and form a large spear. The spear's length is more than 30 meters. Take this. Ice javelin. Pained roar. Asterisk, the beast was hit in the shoulder, rendering its left arm useless. Then it started to emit waves in the water. It was done on regular intervals. It can't be. Everyone get ready. It's calling for backup, Lei warned everyone. Roar. 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 Asterisk. So many, muttered Siren. What came was a large humanoid sea monster. It wasn't an Adaro like the others. Its length is 80 meters in length. They were the Ninjin, the one assigned to each of the cities of the planet to monitor the Adaro. They numbered 6 in total. And behind them were the tens of thousands upon thousands of Adaro that lives nearby. Probably more will come if this continues. Siren, retreat for now. Get all of your subordinates to come. I'll hold them until you return. I'll also bring Enki's subordinates as well, they might try to attack the gate again with greater numbers. Lei ordered Siren. But Lei-sama, that's too dangerous. All by yourself? Maybe we should contact Argent-sama and… Siren, that's an order. That was all Lei said as she again used her expose art to gain the attention of all the sea creatures. Besides, I'll hide once you're all out of here, added Lei. Understood. Siren rushed back to the gate to get her subordinates. It took more or less 15 minutes for her to get back. The monsters were still in the same place. Then the monsters looked in their direction. 1,000 Sirens, 500 Enkis, all of them are ready to fight to the death. They then started and rushed in for the kill. Didn't I say to leave the Enkis to guard the gate? Said Lei as she dispelled her illusion of pretending to be one of the Adaro. Enki was the one who suggested only leaving 500 as the golems were there as well. He is to blame and he said he'll take responsibility, Siren replied. On a side note, Enki didn't say anything of what Siren said. She left 500 to Enki and just dragged the other half with her. 600 of the Sirens fought with the 6 ninjin. 100 on each of them. The rest fought of the Adaro that have already reached the 100,000s in number. Meanwhile, Lei and Siren are the only ones to fight of the large Sipakli. The others would just be needless casualties, that was what they concluded. They lured it away from the battle and into a different area. The two had a hard time with its tentacle attacks, but soon, they got used to its attack pattern. Siren, do you have anything that can keep it still for me? I can do something that will finish this fight if it just stays still. Lei asked Siren as she slashed through tentacles. It was supposed to be a surprise for Argent-sama, but, muttered Siren. Siren went behind the large body of Sipakli and used Waterblade and slashes to destroy the incoming tentacles. Once she was able to touch its back, she gathered all of her magicules into her palm. Cryo magic. Arctic zone, shouted Siren. The lower body of Sipakli and the 100 meters surrounding it was covered in very dense and hard ice. Arctic zone was an imitation version of Cocytus. And considering that Cocytus is only simple ice magic and not Argent's original cryo magic, it could be argued that it's more powerful than its predecessor. Now Lei-sama. This will only hold it for 2 minutes at best, Siren said. Lei went and got in front of Sipakli. They locked eyes. This was a mistake for its part. Because Lei activated her art called Nightmare. Nightmare causes one to hallucinate the worst thing that can happen to someone. It basically shows your worst fear that you don't even know existed. Any normal person will go insane and commit suicide out of fear from this attack. The beast started to tremble. It tried breaking out in a frenzy. Lei-sama? It's getting more aggressive. The nightmare effect wore off after several seconds. But for Sipakli, that was more or less a year of nightmarish torture because of thought acceleration that was integrated in. It stared towards Lei not with anger but with fear in its eyes. Then it saw something that will haunt it for the rest of its life. Lei stared at the beast with a stone-cold expression that warped into a devilish grin. Trauma. She muttered. Ruah-arrrrr. The beast started moving around more and trying to escape screaming. It started contacting the ninjin and Adaro to help itself. However, the ninjin were reduced to 3 left and were facing 200 Sirens each this time. If they tried to help Sipakli, they would be killed. Same with the Adaro, their only strength is in their numbers. But the Sirens and Enkis made a barrier to make sure not one of them passes through. The art Lei used this time was trauma, similar to nightmare. It is a mental attack that causes one to see one's deepest fears. However, unlike nightmare that shows the deepest fear of your subconscious, trauma increases your fear by several times depending on how weak you are. For Sipakli, it was only multiplied 3 times, but for it, that was 3 times the hell it just experienced earlier. Suddenly it stopped. The illusion stopped. There was Lei with her smile still on her face. If you wanted to stop, offer your life to me, said Lei. She was pissed. She's been holding it for months now. She has been away from Argent for months. More than that, she can't even finish the task that was given to her. Her patience was reaching its limit. Because her skills are either mental attacks or analysis. She can't kill the beast with her powers alone. Instead, she chose to make it surrender and be a useful asset for her master. The beast, while still trapped in stone, bowed its head shivering. Not because of the ice but because of Lei. Su Nrm stir. Good, now remove your control on them. Lei pointed on the Ninjin and Adaro. The Adaro and Ninjin stopped their attacks. The Adaro were confused on what is happening and were put to sleep by Lei. The Ninjin started to bow in front of Siren as she was the leader of the ones that defeated their brethren. And because of the death of many of the Adaro, it took another month to return everything to normal. Once Lei was sure that everything was back to normal and only needed further observation. Well then Siren, I'll leave the rest to you. Wait, Lei-sama? Lei disappeared using her illusion magic and got out of both the Sea Universe and Rock Universe to return to her master's side. We've suffered more than 30 casualties on Sirens and 10 for the Enkis. I'm terribly sorry. Hey, it's fine, it's fine. Isn't this the reason we had them become spiritual beings again? Right, thank you for your forgiveness. So did you ever found out why Sipakli wanted to invade the Rock Universe? Asked Argent as he listened in on the report. Sipakli still doesn't quite have the vocabulary, but more or less it's to get more food. The fishes that lives in there are offered up to it, but the Adaro and Ninjin also need to eat. Explained Lei. Another reason is it just wants more territory to rule and more people to control. What a simple-minded goal. Velgrind commented. Now. What intrigues me the most though are the abilities you and Siren used. Your nightmare and trauma and Siren's cryo. Arctic zone. Argent smiled. Could you explain it some more? Well, nightmare. First I used perceive an art I made from analysis that can see through anyone that doesn't have much defense on their mind. Then I look for their deepest fear using thought suggestion. Then emotional manipulation to bring the fear to the surface of the target's mind. Adding thought acceleration to prolong it as well. What a horrific art for anyone to get hit by it. Commented Velgrind. Meanwhile Argent was just happy that Lei got stronger than last time. How about the trauma one? Asked Argent. This one is something that I got creative with. I used emotional manipulation to increase the fear. Thought acceleration to prolong it and parallel processing to multiply it. That is very creative, to think parallel could be used like that. I got to say, I'm impressed, Argent complimented. Lei was very happy with Argent's compliment that she unconsciously made a smug look towards Velgrind, who was confused by her action. Well, Argent stood up from the tree. What do you say we meet the two sides now? Finally got bored. Velgrind teased. Maybe, Argent replied. Lei, you'll be coming with us as well. Understood, Argent-sama. Forgot to ask about that monster's origin. Oh well, not important.